So, hey guys, Waff Six back for Chapter 4 of Admire VikkZaHutt fan fiction by the Library Gang. If you haven't watched episode 1 or 2, go check them out now. Okay, let's go. Brandon's point of view. The next day was pretty uneventful. My admirer and I texted throughout the entire day, making fun of teachers that we both had and laughing about dumb stuff. We remembered our classmates doing. I found myself looking around to see if I could spot a guy texting someone on his phone. Of course, that was dumb because practically everyone had their phones out, but I still tried. About halfway through the day, I heard the rumor that Vic was absent today. That really wouldn't have been notable, except that everyone was saying that he had never missed a day of high school before. I wouldn't have paid much attention except for the fact that I had met him yesterday, and he seemed like a cool person. I was worried he had gotten hurt somehow. I sent a quick text to my admirer. Do you know what happened to Vic? I'm a little worried. He replied quickly. I have no clue. I heard about him. Some people are saying that someone in his family died, but I'm pretty sure that was just a rumor. I just hope he's alright. Meh face. I met him yesterday. He completely saved me from completely embarrassing myself. He seemed like a cool dude. I'm sure he's just fine. You worry too much. Whatever happens, happens. Don't let it ruin your day, okay? Fine, fine, I said and turned my phone off as I entered into English class. This teacher was super strict about phones, and I didn't feel like having mine confiscated today. Next day started out just as normal as the last day had, but it definitely didn't stay that way. I had double AP calculus, and Vic showed up today, except that he looked positively dreadful. He had a black eye, his arm was slung in a cast, he was limping around, wincing with every step he took. It looked like he'd just been in a car wreck. It was bad. He clutched his MacBook to his chest for his dear life, with his good hand as he hobbled over to his seat. Everyone was staring at him, but he was doing his best to ignore them, staring at the floor instead. Their faces he had made about halfway to his seat when I did decide I couldn't just watch him and do nothing. And not only did I owe him, but he was also a nice kid. I didn't think he deserved to limp around. Jumped out of my seat and made my way over to him, taking his book out of his hand and holding out my arm to help support him. He looked at he looked up at me, admiration gleaming in his eyes. Thanks, mate, he mumbled. No problem. Just helping out a friend, I smiled, escorting him to his desk. He sat next to me, so I just hopped into my desk, and when I was done helping him, a smile still on my face, I felt like I had done something good today. I picked up my phone and texted my admirer. Have you Vic today? I don't know what happened. Have you seen Vic today? Library gang. The library gang. That's screw up for you. If you want to check that out. I don't know. People, please, reminder if you're watching this, go point that out just so she can fix it. I don't want people like feeling like idiot after that. That's pretty nice though. I don't know what happened, but I hope he's okay. It looked like he was having a lot of trouble walking. It felt really bad. I knew there was something wrong. The text back was pretty slow, but it was understandable since he was in class like me. Yeah, I heard about you helping him. That was really sweet of you. You know, it just shows how thoughtful you are, Heart. I blushed lightly as I read the text, hoping that no one noticed. I didn't intend to help Vic to impress my admirer, but I wasn't unhappy with the results either. I changed. I chanced to glance over to the injured boy. I didn't want to stare at him, but I also wanted to watch him. He was having a lot of trouble writing, since he was attempting to do it with his broken hand, but it wasn't good at all for his class. Since he had to work a lot of problems and take long notes, I made a mental note to myself to let him borrow my notes after class if he needed them. He was chewing on his lip as he wrote. I couldn't tell if he was doing it because he was concentrating or because he was nervous that he'd be called on to answer something when he couldn't even write down the problem. Ugh. English, please, where are you? Problem properly. His warm brown eyes were fixed on his paper intently as if it may just be by just staring at it, he might force his hand to write properly. Eventually, he just sighed and put his pencil down. He leaned back in his chair and stared at the ceiling, giving up on trying to write. I definitely offered to lend him my notes later. He glanced in my direction and noticed that I was watching him. He gave me a small smile and waved in my direction. I waved back, unable to keep myself from blushing. He had just noticed me staring at him. It was kind of embarrassing. I forced myself to look forward and take notes, more for his sake than my own. By the end of the long, grueling hours of calculus, I ended up with 2 pages of notes, which probably wasn't a very good one. They were also filled up with doodles, taking up even more space on the sheets. I almost didn't want to give Vic the notes, since he probably took better ones with his broken arm than I did. But it was right after class, and we were the only ones left in the room packing up, so I figured at least offer. Hey Vic, he looked up from his backpack, which he was trying to stuff our oversized textbook into. Yeah, mate? He cocked his head and looked at me, curious. I blushed and stuck out my hand with notes in it. I noticed you were having trouble taking notes, so I figured I'd offer you to let you see these. I realized you probably took better notes than me anyways, but I just thought, thank you, Bren. He cut me off for my embarrassed rambling. He took the notes with his good hand. I'm sure these will help. Seriously, I can't thank you enough. I blushed even more. Anything for a friend. Anyways, just give them back to me when you're done with them, okay? He nodded. Also, if you don't mind me asking, what happened? His expression turned sour, and I immediately regretted asking. It's nothing. I'd rather not talk about it if that's all right with you. I nodded furiously. Of course. You'd know that I'm always here to talk to if you need it. He smiled as he closed his backpack and slung it over his good shoulder. Thanks, well, I'm going to be late, so I'll see you later. He gave me a small salute and turned on his heels, walking as quickly as he could out of the classroom with his lump. The rest of the day passed quickly. My admirer and I texted more often as the hours passed. Eventually, it was practice time, though. I put my phone in my gym locker and shoved my football gear on. I ran out of the locker room with Rob close behind me. I slowed down a little so he could catch up with me as we walked together the rest of the way to the field. So how did that thing with the Preston kid go? I asked him as we walked. He turned bright red. I wanted to make sure he was okay, so I've been hanging around him for the past few days. Purely for his safety, of course. I laughed at how flustered he looked. Oh, does Robbie like him? I asked, drawing out the eyes. Rob immediately covered my mouth and looked around nervously. He only dropped his hand when he was sure no one else was around. Yes, maybe. I don't know, but you had to better swear you won't tell anyone. Got that? Of course, Rob. I won't tell a soul. Just know that I think that's adorable. I looked up, noticing that we were almost to the field. We'll continue this conversation later, okay? He nodded, and we both put on our helmets on before running the rest of the way, not wanting to be late. Rob and I were the only ones left in the locker room. All I was really doing was absent-mindedly texting my admirer. So I figured now was as good of a time as any to start up the conversation thing. So Rabadab, you like Preston? I smirked as I watched him stiffen at the boy's name. Yeah, I think I might. He let out a sigh that I didn't realize he had been holding. I'm just glad you don't hate me for being gay, honestly. I laughed. Why would I hate you when I'm not really sure about my own sexuality? Heck, I thought I was asexual until a couple days ago. He made a surprised noise. Sorry, guys, little brother. But, heck, I thought I was asexual until a couple days ago. He made a surprised noise. Wait, what? What happened a couple days ago that made you realize you weren't asexual? Oh, whoops, guess I had to let that slip. Thought for a second, could I trust Rob about this? To be fair, he had just trusted me with his Preston secret. I might as well tell him. Well, you see, I went through the events of the last few days, telling him all about my admirer and how whenever I thought of him, I got butterflies. When I described how I was feeling as acting like a preteen girl, I earned a hearty laugh from Rob. That's actually so freaking adorable, man. I hope stuff goes well for you too. I felt my cheeks heat up. Thanks. I hope so too. I checked my phone again, realizing how late it was. My parents would be worried. Anyways, I've got to go. It was nice talking to you. He nodded. See you later, Brandon. I smiled as I left the locker room, grateful that I had a friend that I could trust with this kind of thing. Ooh, more books. Whew. Brandon. A month had passed since the first day my admirer and I had started talking. While I still didn't know his name, did know a lot of the other things about him. We both liked most of the same TV shows, and we both loved to read. But more importantly, we both loved video games. He was apparently pretty good, or at least that was what he told me his friends said. He loved shooters, but he also liked other games, like Minecraft, which is one of my favorite games was. He was also apparently very smart. He told me that once that almost all of his classes were college classes or AP. He was also a senior, just like me, but he didn't plan to go to college. He had a YouTube channel that was going pretty well, and he wanted to take a year off after school ended to see if that would take him anywhere. I thought it was pretty admirable. Sounded like a really cool job. I checked my phone for another message before clicking it off, shoving it into my pocket, and shutting my locker. A smile was still plastered on my face from this last message. That smile was practically permanent at this point. My admirer made sure of it. I was about to head out when I heard a small squeak of terror from further down the hall and a crashing sound. I bolted down the corridor, wanting to see what the commotion was about. I wasn't prepared for what I saw. My friend Vic was trembling on the ground, his voice bloody from what looked like a broken nose. Two guys, both much taller than him, loomed menacingly over him. They didn't seem to have noticed me. What what did we tell you about coming back, fag? Do you want to be hospitalized again? Or maybe you want us to just end your pathetic existence, because we can do that for you. One of the boys looming over him sneered. Vic shrunk further back into a ball, whimpering. I let out a barely audible gasp. Had you guys been the reason his arm was broken? Vic seemed to hear my gasp. He looked upwards and caught sight of me. Immediately his eyes widened in hope. Please, Brandon, he whispered, reaching a hand out to me, begging me to save him. I looked from him to the two jocks who were in the middle of pummeling him. They even had scared. He must have seen that I was terrified. I instinctively backed away a couple steps, and he grew more desperate. Please, don't leave, Brandon. Please, I'm begging you. Tears were slipping down his face. The jocks just smirked at him, daring me to fight them. I wasn't sure what to do. I liked Vic, sure, but I wasn't sure that I could help him, even if I wanted to. I was a decent fighter, but I might not be good enough to help at all. Vic, I'm not sure I could do anything, I reasoned. But but you promised, he whimpered, sobbing now. What was he talking about? I don't know. You promised that if I ever told you who was hurting me, you'd beat them sentence. You promised you would. Please, Brendan, please, he wailed. The boys kicked him inside to shut him up. It worked. It took me a second to process it, but it hit me, because that was the only something that one person could know. I had only promised that to one person. Vic was my admirer. The weak, tortured boy in front of me was the one who had put a smile on my face every day for the past month. He was right. I had promised him, but it was a promise I intended to keep. I launched myself at the two boys, landing an uppercut on one of their jaws before they could react. The one I hit landed on his bottom with a loud thump, and the other charged at me. I sidestepped, letting him run past me and sticking out my foot to trip him. He wobbled a little, and I used the opportunity to clock him in the back of the head. Felt my knuckles cracking at the impact, but I ignored it. At this point, the other goon had gotten up. I felt his hand grab my neck, but I started to choke, seeing stars dance around my eyes, but I managed to elbow him in the side before I passed out. I then kneed him in the crotch, sending him to the ground. He probably wouldn't stand back up anytime soon. But by this time, goon number two had found his way back onto his feet. We each dodged a couple punches from the other, but eventually he landed a punch to my jaw, causing me to bite down on my own tongue. I saw stars again, managed to pull myself right together enough to kick him in the pressure point on his leg hard enough to make him pass out. Spat on his collapsed body, blood from my mouth getting into his hair. That's what you get if you ever think of touching him, ever. You hear me? I laughed because I knew there was no way he could hear me, but I got over my gloating rather quickly, turning my attention to the sobbing mess that was Vic. He was lying on his side, his arms wrapped around his leg, and was crying uncontrollably. I sat down next to him and scooped him up into my lap, holding him close to me. Shh, it's all right now. They can't hurt you. If I'm here, I won't let them hurt you ever again. I wrapped one arm around him and stood up, picking him up with me. I needed to get him somewhere safer, somewhere where I could take care of him properly. By the way, how is a broken arm just a couple scrapes? I commented, referring to how the two boys had quite literally hospitalized him and had passed it off like it was nothing. Vic blushed furiously. I guess it's not. He wrapped his good arm around my neck and buried his face into my shoulder. Thank you for saving me, he whispered softly in my ear. Anything for the boy I love, I whispered back. Anyways, guys, I hope you guys liked that one as well. More coming soon. Hit that like button, hit that subscribe button, and I'll see you guys in the next video. See you guys in the next video. Goodbye, guys.